The cock had not crowed 3 times when Adana tied her wrapper firmly and set out on the narrow bush path. Her feet were bare, her eyes swollen from crying through the night. She was going to plead with the second suitor, the one who had once brought baskets of gifts to her father's house, but left in anger after her shameful behavior. When she reached his compound, she bowed low before him and his family. Her voice trembled like a leaf in the wind. My in-laws, please forgive me. I do not know what came over me that day. I beg you, take me as your wife, and I promise to bring honor to your family. The suitor looked at her with cold eyes. He burst into laughter, and soon his brothers and sisters joined him, mocking her. Look at the proud daughter of Chief Okeke, now crawling like a hungry dog, one shouted. Go back to your father's house, another sneered. We do not marry women who spit on their husbands to be. Their words cut through Adana's heart like a sharp blade. She bowed her head in shame, her tears dropping on the dusty ground. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her shoulders heavy with sorrow. The sun was already high when she reached the long stretch of road leading back to her village. Suddenly, she heard a faint groan by the roadside. Curious, she turned and saw a young man lying on the ground, blood trickling from a wound on his leg. His clothes were torn and his breath was shallow. Ewo, who did this to you? Adana cried out, rushing to his side. The young man tried to speak, but only managed a weak whisper. Adana quickly tore a piece of her wrapper, washed the wound with water from her calabash, and tied it gently. She fanned him with her hand until his breathing grew stronger. The young man opened his eyes slowly. He looked at her as Eve seeing an angel. Why? Why are you helping me? He asked in a hoarse voice. Adana smiled faintly through her tears. Because it is the right thing to do. Today, the world may mock me, but that will not stop me from doing good. She helped him sit up and gave him water to drink. For the first time in many weeks, Adana felt a strange peace in her heart, like a small flame of hope, refusing to die. From that day on, Adana did not forget the young man she had helped by the roadside. His name was Obinna, and he lived alone in a small hut near the edge of the forest. His wound was deep, and though he tried to hide his pain, he could not walk well. Every morning, after sweeping her father's compound, Adana would sneak a little food into a basket. Sometimes she carried ripe mangoes, sometimes roasted yam wrapped in leaves, other times dried fish from her mother's kitchen. She would walk quietly to Obinna's hut, knock softly on his door, and smile shyly as she handed him the basket. At first, Obinna protested. Adana, you have done enough. You saved my life. You should not trouble yourself with me again. But Adana shook her head. A tree does not grow strong in one day. Obinna, your wound must heal well before you can stand tall again. Let me help. Days turned into weeks, and Adana found joy each time she visited. She swept his compound, fetched water from the stream, and sometimes sat outside with him, listening to the birds sing in the tall Iroko trees. Obinna soon noticed her gentle spirit. She laughed easily when he teased her, and when she smiled, his heart felt lighter than it had in years. One evening, as the sun was sinking behind the hills, Obinna said softly. Adana, I thought the world had no kindness left. But you are like rain that falls in the dry season. Adana blushed and looked away. Her heart beat fast, though she could not explain why. Slowly, like the careful planting of a seed, something new began to grow between them. Not just friendship, but a love so tender that even the birds seemed to sing about it in the morning breeze. But while their love blossomed in secret, the shadow of Adana's look-alike still walked in the village, spreading confusion and shame. The villagers continued to whisper her name with anger, not knowing that her true heart was far different from the evil they saw. One bright morning, Obina's wound had healed enough for him to walk without pain. His heart was full of joy, for he had made a decision. He wanted Adana not just as a friend, but as the woman he would marry. So, with a wild smile, he said, Adana, the sun has shone in my life because of you. Today, I want you to meet my mother. I want her to see the woman who has captured my heart. Adana's face turned red with shyness, but her heart leapt with happiness. Could it be that after all the shame, after all the suitors that left, love had finally found her? She agreed to go. When they arrived at Obinna's family compound, his mother, Mama Obinna, came out to welcome them. But the moment her eyes fell on Adana, her face grew hard like dry clay. She did not greet her. Instead, she folded her arms and hissed loudly. Obinna, she said sharply, is this the girl you want to marry? Have you lost your senses? Do you not know who she is? Obinna was confused. Mama, this is Adana. She is kind, gentle, and Mama Obinna cut him off with a wave of her hand. Kind? Gentle? My son, open your eyes. Do you not hear what the whole village is saying? This girl is a curse. Every man who comes to marry her ends up running away in shame. Have you not heard how she insults elders and chases suitors like a wild goat? She will bring disgrace to this family. I will not allow it. Adana's eyes filled with tears. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak, but no words came out. She felt the ground should open and swallow her. The same shame that had followed her now stood boldly before her, even in the home of the man she loved. Leave my compound, Mama Obinna shouted, pointing at the gate. Leave before your bad luck spreads into my house. Adana covered her face with her wrapper and ran out, weeping bitterly. But Obinna stood firm. He turned to his mother and said, Mama, you are wrong. I know this girl. I have seen her heart. She is not what the villagers say. You may not bless us, but I will marry her, for my spirit tells me she is mine. Mama Obinna shook her head in anger, but Obinna's eyes were steady, like a man who had made up his mind. That evening, Adana lay on her mat, her pillow soaked with tears. The words of Mama Obinna kept echoing in her ears like the beating of a drum. She hugged her knees and whispered, Why is this happening to me? What sin have I committed? Why does shame follow me like a shadow? Just then, she heard a gentle knock. It was Obinna. He entered quietly and sat beside her. His eyes were soft. Adana, he said, wipe your tears. Do not let my mother's words break you. I know who you are. The Adana I love is kind, not cruel. You saved me when I was helpless. How can I turn against you now? Adana looked at him through her tears. For the first time in many moons, her heart felt a little lighter. But that very night, while Obinna slept, the spirits stirred. At the bottom of the river, the child who looked exactly like Adana, the one raised by the river goddess, sat with a wicked smile. She whispered into the wind, "If I cannot destroy her with shame, I will destroy her through the man she loves." The river waters trembled. The false Adana rose like a mist and slipped into Obinna's dream. In the dream, she appeared before him, looking exactly like Adana, but her eyes were red like burning coal. She mocked him, laughed cruelly, and raised her hand to strike him. "You fool," she shouted in the dream. "You think you love me? I will ruin your life like I ruined the lives of others." Obinna woke up sweating, his chest pounding. He sat up in the darkness, confused. Was that Adana, or was it a trick? He whispered. His heart wanted to trust her, but the dream left a seed of doubt. As the cock crowed, he buried his face in his palms. "Spirit or no spirit, I must know the truth," he muttered. The morning sun was bright that day. Birds sang on the iroko tree, and children ran about with laughter. But Obinna's heart was heavy with one mission. Against his mother's warning, against the gossip of the villagers, he went straight to Chief Okeke's compound. His steps were firm, his chest proud. When Adanna's parents saw him at their gates, their faces lit up with hope. "Ah, young Obinna, you have come again," Mama Adanna asked, her voice trembling. "Yes, Mama, I have come to ask for Adanna's hand in marriage. I will not be swayed by words of gossip or fear," he said boldly. Chief Okeke raised his staff in approval. My daughter is blessed indeed. Finally, the gods have remembered us." Mama rushed inside to call Adanna, but before she could return, a figure had already stepped out from the inner room. It was Adanna's look-alike, the false Adanna. She wore a mischievous smile, her eyes sharp like a hunter's spear. She came and stood in front of Obinna, arms folded, lips curled. "So, you are the one who claims he loves me?" she said with mockery. Obinna frowned. "Adanna, why do you speak like this? This is not you." But the fake Adanna laughed loudly, clapping her hands so that even the neighbors gathered to watch. "Love me? Do you know how many men have come and run away? You will be no different. Do you want to waste your life on a cursed woman? Then be my guest," she shouted, pointing at him with scorn. Gasps filled the compound. Old women shook their heads. Young girls covered their mouths in shock. "Hey, yeah, this is why no man stays," they whispered. Just then, the real Adana stumbled out, her face confused and pale. She looked around, wondering what had happened. The fake one was gone, vanished like smoke. But the damage was already done. Obinna stood frozen, turned between the woman he loved and the cruel shadow that wore her face. Chipokeke banged his staff on the ground. "What madness is this?" he thundered. Adana fell to her knees, crying. "Father, I swear, I did not say those things. I don't know what is happening to me." The villagers whispered louder, some laughing, some pitying. Obinna's eyes were clouded with doubt. Yet, deep inside, his heart still burned for her. The crowd at Chief Okeke's compound had finally scattered. Some leapt, shaking their heads, others muttering curses, and a few whispering that the gods were angry. Through it all, Obinna stood tall, his voice firm. "Listen to me, all of you," he cried, raising his hand. "Adana is not cursed. She is not wicked. I love her, and I will stand by her, no matter what tricks or lies come against her. The villagers murmured, but said no more. Chief Okeke nodded slowly, his eyes filled with gratitude, and Mama Adana held her daughter close, whispering prayers under her breath. Obinna turned and began his long walk home. The sun had set, and the bush path was quiet, except for the hoot of an owl and the rustle of leaves in the night wind. He was thinking of Adana, of her tears, of her innocence, when suddenly his heart skipped. There, standing in the middle of the path, was Adana. But how? He had just left her at her father's compound. She stood, with arms folded, her shadow stretching long and dark under the moonlight. Her eyes glowed like burning coal. Obinna froze, his throat dry. Adana, how did you get here before me? The figure smirked. Foolish boy, you are playing with fire. If you don't leave that girl alone, you will lose your life. Obinna's hands clenched. Why? Why do you want to destroy her? She has done nothing wrong. She is gentle. She is kind. She is innocent. The fake Adana threw her head back and laughed. A laughter so cold that even the leaves trembled. Innocent? She hissed. You think she is innocent? That girl is a murderer. Go back to her house and ask her what happened 5 years ago at the river. Obinna's chest tightened. Murderer? No, no, I don't believe you. But the false Adana stepped closer, her voice dripping with poison. You will believe, you will see. And when you know the truth, you will wish you never laid eyes on her. With that, she vanished into the night like smoke carried by the wind.